Okay, here's my second comparison review. This time I got a bunch of Omegas here. And what I'm going to be doing is just basically comparing them a little bit and just really mostly giving what I like and dislike about each watch. Again, this is totally my opinion, and what I've found is people love watches that I hate, and I hate watches that people love. So this is really just my take, and yet I've found that I really like knowing other people's opinions because it helps me see things that I don't that I can't see through looking at pictures online and things like that. So hope this helps, and but just remember, this is just my take. Okay, so I just the Steinhardt OVM I did in another earlier comparison, so you can check out some of my thoughts there. I just kind of included it here for the sake of comparison, so you can see what it looks like in the same light. And the first one I'll compare it to is this Omega. It's a Planet Ocean Liquidmetal Limited Edition. This is the first generation Planet Ocean. Well, it's kind of a 1.5 generation, honestly, because this has some upgrades over the first generation Planet Oceans, which I'll talk about. But you can kind of see they both look fantastic, in my opinion. The Steinhardt is so much cheaper, but really looks really quite great next to it. But let me talk a little bit about this Planet Ocean here. So this one is a pretty rare model because it's a limited edition, and it's got some features that a lot of people like. Namely, it's thin compared with the newer ceramic second generation Planet Oceans. This is quite a bit thinner, and because of that, it wears a lot better. And what I really like about this watch is first of all, the wearability. It just wears fantastically. It's nice and thin, but you still get the ceramic and liquid metal bezel. You still get that ceramic dial that's really nice and glossy. You get the applied indices and the applied logo, and I really like all those things. You also get this double-sided anti-reflective coating on the crystal, and that gives you a really nice disappearing crystal effect. Now I gotta say, it's hard to beat that for looks. Double-sided anti-reflecting is just really beautiful. It just comes with a big downside, and the downside is you can scratch it, and that's a pretty big bummer if you put a big scratch on that crystal. And for me, that's kind of the main thing I don't like about it, because I don't want to live in fear of scratching it, and I tend to notice things like that. A couple of things that I don't like: no micro adjustment on the clasp. It does have half links, but you don't get that really perfect fit. The good news is that you can buy the clasp for the new Seamaster 300, which I'll get to in a little bit, and you can basically put it on this watch. So you can get a micro adjustable clasp for it. It's just not what it comes with, and you got to pay extra for it. But for me, the biggest thing is, for whatever reason, I just didn't really bond with this watch. I don't know why, because on paper, this thing is amazing. I think it looks beautiful in pictures. It's just the right size, the right wearability. Everything seems great about this, but that's just the way it is kind of sometimes. You just don't bond with a particular watch. So I actually have this watch up for sale right now. And let me move on to the next one. So the next one I have here is the Speedmaster Pro. This is also known as the Moon Watch. It's a pretty famous watch, and there are tons of reviews of it. So again, I'm not looking to give a detailed review here, just kind of say what I like and don't like. Some of the things I really like about it: I love the size, just like on the earlier Planet Ocean. The size is just perfect. I've got 7-inch wrists. They're kind of flat, but this is kind of the perfect size, I think, in a watch these days. The second thing I really like, the history of this watch. It was the first watch worn on the moon. This is the watch that, you know, Omega markets, you know, all day long, and everyone who collects watches knows about this watch. And you know, there's something romantic about it, and I think that's a huge part of its appeal, and why it's so popular. I also like the fact that it's a chronograph. Chronographs, I think, are one of the most useful complications in watches. You know, you can time all sorts of things. You know, if you're cooking or if you're, you know, waiting for something. I use it, you know, pretty often actually, and so I think it's pretty helpful. What else do I like about it? I really like the contrast of the hands, the white on black. It is just about the easiest watch out there to read. It's just super easy to read, really legible, and it's very striking. I like that. Also, the straps, you know, Speedmasters just look great on, you know, just about any strap out there. And if you're really into straps, you know, it's hard to beat this watch. This watch just looks, you know, great on leather. It looks great on rubber. It looks good on almost anything. So it's very versatile, right? So all of that is fantastic, and the resale value on these Speedmasters is really great. You're always going to be able to sell it. You're always going to be able to sell it if you need to. And for me, I buy all my watches used because I know now that, you know, just because it looks great in pictures and sometimes even in videos, when I own it for a week or two, I can usually tell. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but if I just bond with it. And this is definitely a watch that I really like after having owned it for you know, about a month now. I think it's just a fantastic watch. The last thing I really like about it is I love the Hesalite glass. Now, Hesalite is basically a fancy name for plastic, so it's just a plastic crystal. But the reflections are really fantastic, and you know, I struggled between whether deciding between the Hesalite version and the sapphire version, and you know, I had a sapphire. I had a watch with a domed sapphire crystal before, and I knew from that watch that they tend to develop this kind of white ring around the edges, and I'd seen that in the pictures of the sapphire version of this watch, and I knew from my last experience that I really did not like it. I didn't like that, but this Hesalite is really fantastic. Just the angles, you know, it looks good. It looks kind of spacey, you know, and it just reflects light really nicely. Now for the downsides, you know, the Speedmaster, it's, you know, the Hesalite scratches pretty easily, which can be a bummer. You know, you can't help this watch. This crystal is going to get scratched, and there's really nothing you can do about it except to buff them out every now and again. But really, you kind of expect, you know, if you look at certain angles, you expect to see some light scratches on there, and really, it's just kind of the character of the watch. And strangely enough, it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it might. You know, if you get one scratch on your anti-reflective coating with the Planet Ocean, I mean, I'll see that thing every time I look at my watch. But this one, for whatever reason, you know, you just kind of get used to seeing these little scratches on it, and it's not that big of a deal. And so I really don't mind, and when it gets too scratched up, I'll just buff out the scratches, and I think I'll be okay. So this one is definitely a winner in my book. Now, two other kind of downsides I don't like about it. You know, it's just a little too popular. You know, it seems like every person who collects watches has one of these. And there's something about that I don't like as much. And lastly, you know, there's not really any water resistance, so you can't go swimming with this watch, which can kind of be a bummer. But overall, it's a really great piece, and it just looks beautiful. Okay, now the last one I have here is the Seamaster 300. This is kind of my newest watch, and I like it quite a bit. So to be honest, I'm still a little bit in the honeymoon phase. But that being said, I gotta say this honeymoon phase is probably the best honeymoon phase I've had with any watch. So I feel pretty confident that this is a keeper for me. Now, what do I like about it? First of all, the reflections on this watch are just fantastic. I know I talk about reflections quite a bit But that's because they're one of the main things that determines whether a watch is really beautiful for me. And this one is just great. I actually tried this one on 3 times in the store, and I dismissed it because store lighting tends to be just terrible. They have these spotlights that just, they just wash out the dial. It just looks terrible in there. But when I finally saw this watch in decent lighting, it really just came alive, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So, it's even hard to capture on camera. In person, I think this watch just looks way better than almost any picture or video that I've seen of it. So I would encourage you, if you can, try and find one in person, because they're just really fantastic in the metal here. Other things I love about this, it's really versatile. The water resistance, I believe it's 300 meters. It's a diver, so you can take it underwater, and it looks good on a bunch of straps. I love that. I love being able to put straps on there, put it back to bracelet, and it's going to look good on just about anything. And lastly, what I really like about it, I like the retro, the retro flavor to it. It's obviously it's an homage to 57 Seamaster that Omega put out. So I like that, but it's very modern. It's clearly a modern watch. When you feel it, when you look at it, it just gives kind of a retro flavor, and that's kind of my favorite. I don't like watches that are too vintagey. I considered the Oris. I forget what that one's called. But then the one that Oris put out a little while ago with that dome crystal, and it's really cool. The 65 diver. And it's really cool. It's just a little bit too retro for me. But this is just the perfect blend of, being, having that vintage feel, but really being in a very modern package. And, the movement is just fantastic too. It looks beautiful and it's great. All right, now the things that I don't like about this watch, I hate the name of this watch. I'm sorry, whoever named this watch, you did a very poor job, because it's just so confusing. I don't even really know for sure what the name of this watch is. The Omega Seamaster 300 Master Co-axial. Just try and search for this watch. You're getting pictures of the 300 Pro, or whatever the other one's called. I don't like that. They should have come up with a better name for it. But secondly, the only other thing that I don't really like about this watch is the bracelet. Obviously, I've got a strap here. The bracelet isn't terrible. I'd probably give it about a B. The main things I don't like about it are that it has polished center links, which always get scratched up and tend to look not that great after a while. And it's got a very vintage feel and look to the bracelet, and I don't like it as much. Although I'm sure some people love that about the bracelet. For me, it's kind of a turnoff. But that being said, it does come with a micro adjustable clasp, so that's definitely a solid plus. So you can get like a really perfect fit on the bracelet. But overall, those are the only two. Now, for me, obviously, I think this is my favorite of the ones that I've shown today. Again, it's hard just to capture on video or in pictures just how beautiful this watch is. I think it's the best watch I've ever tried on, to be honest. And in second place, I like the Speedy quite a bit. The Planet Ocean is really a fantastic watch. I'm really sad that I didn't bond with it, because I know a lot of other people just love it to death, and it really is a great watch. I love looking at it here, but for whatever reason, just on my wrist, it's not quite as nice as these other ones here. All right, well, that's my take, and I hope it was helpful for you.